स्टडी IQ IAS, आपका सिलेक्शन हमारा मिशन।
UPSC English Literature, Paper 2, Section B, which is replete with novels. You have around 7 to 8 novels in your Section B of Paper 2. And one of the most important novels that you have is V.S. Naipaul's A House for Mr. Biswas. Now, this becomes important. Why? Because this written from a diasporic point of view concerning an Indian family living in Trinidad. Now, that is, of course, important also otherwise because V.S. Naipaul, a Nobel Prize winner, is included in your course, and hence the question that will be framed from this novel will be of great significance. Thematic concerns, that is what exactly the novel, the question will be asked based on the novel's thematic concerns, and all the symbolism or the ideas that the questioner would ask you. Now, remember one thing, that in your examinations, UPSC English Literature, I'm talking about the subjective questions, they never ask you about the story. कि इस chapter के बाद क्या आता है? No. All they ask you is, what do you interpret from this? What is your analysis? Rather than what is written in this novel, they ask, why is it written? There are certain themes that I would be discussing today. So today, our topic of discussion is V.S. Naipaul's A House for Mr. Biswas, and I, Dr. Anamta, Rizvi, a UPSC English Literature educator, would be going ahead with this. Now, moving ahead, so before I proceed, I would just like to say that, that this novel is layered with limitless themes. There is, of course, there's kind of that how humans strive to live in a meaningless world, trying to make a sense of their life, a human endeavor, pursuit to achieve something, which is very significant. So in this case, what becomes of an achievable thing, a thing that needs to, is tagged with the term victory, and that is a house. All right. So this is a very interesting novel, and it talks about, the family dynamics, the conditions, the human condition that people go through, the struggles that people go through while raising a family, and what it means to have a house. Okay, so everyone will be able to relate with it because somewhere or the other, we all are striving for something. So once you're able to relate with the text, your understanding becomes more profound. You are able to, go with the rhythm of it. You are able to make more sense of it. All right, so this makes a very, very interesting and a very, I would say, a very relatable read. Now, V.S. Naipaul's A House for Mr. Biswas is a very important one in the 20th century. Remember, your entire paper 2, section A, section B is your modern literature and postmodern literature, and hence it's completely 20th century. So the novel is set in Trinidad and explores the experience of the Indian diaspora. है आपका ट्रिनिडाड का, the setup is foreign land, but Indian family के बारे में, Indian diaspora, the generations जिनके ancestors indentured laborers थे जब slavery खत्म हुई थी. So British took some indentured laborers from India to Trinidad, and they said that look, अब slavery तो खत्म हो गई है, indentured laborers को हमें काम कराना पड़ेगा. तो this is basically a story of that Indian diasporic family जो कि ancestors indentured laborers थे. So, Indian diaspora living under colonial conditions. So, can you see the level of, I would say, the subjugation that they face? They are living in a foreign land, foreign people. Okay, so this is not their country. They are being ruled by colonials. They're being ruled by British rulers. And hence, this becomes highly important. So, colonial condition, the story revolves around Mohan Biswas. Mohan Biswas is the one who wants to build a house, who struggles throughout his life to achieve independence, dignity, and a home of his own. Now, this house becomes a central symbol of identity, security, and huge level of personal freedom. So this house is just not, that another simple dream. This signifies so many aspects. It signifies identity, security, and a sense of freedom that, when you own your house, you are the master of the house. You can do anything within those boundaries. And hence Mohan Biswas, who till now had led a very stifled life because he was living with his in-laws, his wife's family, which he did not want to live. So ultimately, when he moves, there is a sense of liberation that he feels. The novel transforms an individual's struggles into a universal exploration of belonging and selfhood. Now, what is the plot overview of this? the journey of Mr. Biswas. So Mohan Biswas is born into a poor Indian family in Trinidad and experiences insecurity from childhood. A diaspora, okay, a person living in a foreign land under colonial conditions, wherein even the natives around him are foreign. And plus onto that, what is the biggest disadvantage? That they're being ruled by completely foreign. So after marrying Shama Tulsi, he becomes part of this powerful family, and he moves into that house, this Tulsi family, but feels controlled and dependent on them. So throughout his life, he takes up different professions while struggling to establish his own identity. So this is, of course, about having your own sense of identity, finding a meaning in this meaningless world, and trying to achieve that liberty that he has not had a sense of it till now. His greatest ambition is to own a house of his own that represents his independence and dignity. By acquiring his own house, Mr. Biswas achieves a sense of personal fulfillment despite all his struggles. All right, so over here, he acquires his own house and he achieves a sense of personal fulfillment. So this is when he gets that house, when he achieves that house. So, no matter what he has gone through his life, everything, kind of melts down in front of this house, which stands for liberty, freedom, and identity. That all, does not mean at all. So this becomes highly important. Now, major themes, questions on which, your UPSC will ask you. The central theme of this novel is over here, the search for individual identity. And this is how a question will be formed. Comment on A House for Mr. Biswas by V.S. Naipaul's A Quest for an Identity. How is it a novel wherein this individual is trying to establish his own identity? Now, he struggles against social, economic, familial forces that limit his freedom. So over here, because he's living in a joint family, immediately as soon as he gets married, he moves to his wife's house. Over here, the kind of stifling atmosphere that he faces, the kind of, his liberty is curbed. He is questioned. He's on every aspect. So that kind of limits his freedom, and his desire for a house represents his desire for recognition and self-respect. So this self-respect, identity, this house signifies just not bricks and mortar, but this house signifies his self-respect, his own identity. The novel reflects the post-colonial experiences of people searching for belonging in a displaced world where nothing is their own, trying to create something of their own in a world which is completely foreign to them is a huge quest for identity. And therefore, this novel has become prime importance. Mr. Biswas's journey represents the universal human need for place and identity. Now, colonialism and individual freedom. This again can form a very important question, because this comes under direct, there are two umbrella terms that I would use for this novels. One is this diaspora, that this novel comes under straight in the category of diasporic literature. Secondly, in colonial literature. So the question will be asked on diaspora as well as colonial aspects. So Naipaul represents the impact of colonial society on ordinary human lives. What exactly does a colonial condition does to your mindset, to your psychology, to your emotional development, to everything around you, to your financial freedom, everything. So the novel explores issues of cultural displacement. One, cultural displacement becomes a moot element, because where you are living does not culturally belong to you. The cultures are different, the customs are different, the beliefs are different, the day-to-day lives is different. So this is one alienation. So now economic insecurity and loss of belonging. So economic insecurity because nothing is substantially yours completely, and then loss of belonging, where again you're searching for an identity. Do you feel that you belong there? So belongingness is very important. We live in our country. We're born in this country and we take it for granted that, because everything seems our own. But the moment you move in a foreign land, the moment you step there and try to establish your life, unfortunately, people do experience identity crisis because things seem alien to them. And that is where this homesickness kicks in. People adjust, people lead their life, generations lead their life there. But this crisis of identity does not just leave so easily from one's life. So the Tulsi family over here represents traditional community structure, and that provides support but restricts individual freedom. Mr. Biswas' struggle reflects a conflict between personal independence and social expectations. All right, so what is his struggle? That is, reflects the conflict between personal independence, wherein he does not want to be dependent on any other aspect. He does not want to be dependent on any other human being, be his in-laws, be his own parents, and also social expectations wherein he is not expected to behave in this certain manner. So he wants to create a life which he's free from these shackles. He's not chained to these, fetters. So the novel connects a personal struggle with wider post-colonial concerns. Now, these are the two themes. There are many, many themes that are there in the novel, which I will be discussing in full detail in my paid classes every day, which happens at 1 p.m. So right now, I have not started yet this novel because I would be starting with a paper 2, like the very first text. So this is how the thematic concerns are discussed, in fact, in a much more elaborate manner, wherein we discuss everything that comes into your thematic concerns. Now, if we talk about the characters and literary techniques, Mr. Biswas is presented as an ordinary man, a very ordinary man, flawed. In fact, he's declared as unlucky in the beginning of the novel. So he's a very ordinary man, and whose struggle for dignity makes him a universal character. Shama, his wife, represents the complexities of family relationships and adaptation within traditional structure. So a very traditionally rooted wife that he gets. Mrs. Tulsi represents authority, that is the mother-in-law. All right, who's Mr. Biswas' mother-in-law, represents authority, tradition, and the power of community, wherein she is the one who controls, and Mr. Biswas is not able to tolerate so much of control by the mother-in-law. The house functions as a symbol of identity, freedom, and achievement. So this house that he's trying to build plays a character in itself. Why? Because that is signifying identity, freedom, and a sense of achievement. This novel uses realism, irony, and humor to portray everyday struggles and human emotions. Now, this is, of course, as I always tell my students, this is a post-colonial novel. You must focus on how is this post-colonial novel dealing with identity, displacement, and belonging. This becomes a very, very important question. All right, so answer should connect to Mr. Biswas' personal struggle, larger themes of colonialism and individual freedom. Students should focus on the symbolism of the house, character analysis, and Naipaul's post-colonial perspective. Now, when I'm talking about these points, take these points as important for all your answers. Your content will be different, but the bullet points, the main idea will be similar to this, because this novel talks about these aspects, that is the post-colonial perspective, the individual freedom, and important concepts include diaspora. 100% a question can come on this. Identity crisis, realism, and the Bildungsroma tradition. Bildungsroma tradition is when the character is shown from his childhood to adulthood. And this is a Bildungsroma novel because Mr. Biswas, Mohan Biswas, is shown when he's born. He's a little baby, and how he grows up to create a sense of identity for himself. So the novel is not merely about building a house, it is about building an identity. So when you read A House for Mr. Biswas, so read it as a house where, how Mr. Biswas is trying to create an identity, because that house stands as an identity for him. All right, so this is a very layered novel, guys, a very, very important one, very interesting. When we read this novel chapter by chapter, we do every bit of analysis of every chapter. Why? Because, as I said, UPSC, the course is very confined. And if studied in a very proper, thorough manner, with the right critical arguments, with the right analysis, you will meet the demand of your question examiners that you know what you're supposed to answer. So remember this, that you have to look at every analytical aspect. That what is this novel trying to say? Why has the writer written it? With full discussions, we have it in our class. Every day at 1 p.m. we have our classes, and we discuss every aspect of the novel, be it the characters, the themes, the story, the summary of the story, the analytical perspective of the story, and everything. So the price of the course, I'll tell you, it is around 14,999. You can use my code AR Live, and you will see that, there will be discounts also on this course. If you want any questions, you can call our executives. They will help you with anything. If you want to connect with me, the executives will help you to connect with me. There's an entire website. Also, my demo lectures are there. Some of my notes are there. If you have any apprehensions, go through them, have a thorough look. And if you are really interested in proper reading, I will always tell my students that, the teachers are always there to help you, to guide you. But ultimately, when you come into literature, then there is a massive level of reading that you have to do. So do not shy away from reading. Do not shy away from putting in an extra effort. Why? Because this is not mathematics. It is not that, you learn a certain formula and you're able to solve the problem. Over here, you have to develop your thinking faculty almost every day. And that can only be achieved through reading. So guys, with this note, I'll be coming to an end of my lecture. I hope to see you all in the classes. And if any questions, do connect with us. Thank you.
Study IQ IAS. आपका सिलेक्शन हमारा मिशन.